Hello, genealogists. It's Craig again from Just Genealogy. A few people have requested that I talk about heritage books. I thought I'd get that out of the way, because those of you who know me didn't know that I don't like talking about myself. That was a joke. So let's start in the beginning. I've been a genealogist since I was 16 years old. Although admittedly for 15 years I was doing it wrong. And until I encountered the National Genealogical Society, I had no clue that I was doing it wrong. I started attending national conferences. I started asking questions, basically getting in the way of people and forcing my way into conversations until I pretty much got, well, there was a time in my life when people would walk across the street to stay away from me. And then I wised up and realized that I could become a nice narcissist instead of a terrible narcissist. And I figured out how I could become a nice narcissist. So about 1985 is when I found the National Genealogical Society. And at that point in time I was a naval officer, and I didn't retire until 1992. And after I retired, there was some insistence from some party that I go find a real job, that genealogy, we couldn't have two genealogists in the family because we needed to have an income, so I had to go find a real job. So I did. I became a Beltway bandit and worked for several years, for a long time, helping with government proposals and doing that kind of stuff, and hating every minute of my life. So I decided I had to do something different. So I became an air searcher. And I hated every minute of my life more. So I knew I wanted to be a genealogist, but I knew I couldn't afford to be a genealogist. So I had to figure out what to do. And I had 2 kids to put through college. So I started a company called Willow Books after I retired from the Navy and spent a few years out there being a Beltway bandit. And Willow Books was basically created about the 1995, 1996 time frame. And I started out in an apartment in Leesburg, Virginia, and I filled it up with so many books, because I was selling other people's books also, that the floor began to warp, and I realized I had to move. About that time, it was 1999, and I decided that what I should do is buy family line publications, and that would be the way to increase my holdings very quickly. Because they had about, I don't know, 700-800 titles at the time. So the owner of Family Line Publications was 63 years old, and he was a retired naval officer also, and he figured it was time for him to cash in on his Social Security and just move forward, move down the line. So I bought Family Line Publications and I moved to Westminster, Maryland, and I named it Willow Books after the company that I had created in Leesburg, Virginia. So Willow Books bought Family Line Publications in 1999. In 2003, it became apparent that Heritage Books was available for sale. So because I had a long-standing relationship with the people at Heritage Books, much like the long-standing relationship I've had with the people at Genealogical Publishing Company and pretty much everywhere else, I negotiated with them and I purchased Heritage Books, which meant that I increased my holdings even more because they had more books than Family Line Publications did. And by this time I probably had 2,500 books. And I also acquired a lot of staff. That I used to be lean, and then I acquired a lot of staff, and generally over time that staff left me, and some stayed behind, but mainly they saw greener pastures. Basically they were used to a different environment that I provided, and I provided a much more, I'll call it laissez-faire environment. You go do your job, I leave you alone. Some people require more guidance than others. And some people like to feel at home, and I don't care whether you feel at home or not. I just want you to be happy with your work. But anyway, that said, got Heritage Books and moved it from Bowie, Maryland to Westminster, Maryland. A few years went by, and we had a bookstore in Westminster. Some of you have actually been there. And we had a bad relationship with the new landlord, and we decided that we'd just move to a warehouse and wouldn't have a bookstore anymore. Basically, everybody was using us like a library. And so our books were getting used and not being sold. And we had some interesting, insistent customers that would tell us they were something, so they had permission to copy material out of our books. And it was like, no. But anyway, we got tired of that argument and got tired of how it interfered with our work process, which was to get books out the door. In those days, we used to put books out the door in laundry basket groups. We used to roll a laundry basket down the hill when we were Heritage Books in Bowie, and down the street when we were Heritage Books in Westminster. So basically, the warehouse got to be too small for the amount of books we had, so we had to look for something else. So I farmed all the books out to someone in Columbus and someone in North Salt Lake. And for 5 years, they basically did drop shipping for us, East Coast, West Coast. After about 5 years, it became difficult because we couldn't afford to do that, so I looked for a warehouse, and I found one right here in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Now, over the years, I continued to acquire other companies, like Margaret Meyer's company out of Maryland. Like, I acquired all the John Humphrey books. I acquired the Nautical and Aviation Press books when it went out of business. I acquired the J. Holbrook books when he has just recently passed, when he decided he didn't want to have Cubist furniture in his house anymore. So over time, I acquired various companies, and the most recent acquisition probably is Colonial Roots, which actually was Family Line Publications re-established as Delmarva Roots, and then their title changed to Colonial Roots. And although I didn't buy it from the original person, I bought it from the person he sold it to. And that added, 1,200 more titles. So what we have, because we have a very prolific production schedule, there are only actually about 3 or 4 of us that work full-time. And there are a few others that work part-time, but almost everybody's related to everybody one way or the other almost. And between the Laird Tolles family, who was the original owner of Heritage Books, and me. So my family and Leslie Wolfinger's family, that's Leslie Toll, who is head of publications. And she handles all the new books. So basically, we keep the family employed, the 2 families employed. Then so we have Colonial Roots, and when we got Colonial Roots, we also ended up with the Antian Press books because Colonial Roots had acquired Antian Press. And recently we acquired the Origins books from Maya's books. And some of you may be aware of those, German Maps and Facts and Lands of the German Empire, because of a grip talk recently. So there's not very many people left. And realizing that, I knew that I had to return to how I used to do things, which was I carried everybody's books, because I had a bookstore. And for the longest time, we only carried our own books because before print on demand, it was too expensive to buy other people's books because that resource was being used instead of on our own books on other people's books. But when print on demand came into being, we didn't have the upfront expense of buying 100 copies of a book or 50 copies of a book. So we were able to again begin to acquire everybody else's books again, or open up the boxes of their books that had laid dormant for a number of years in various places. So we now carry not only heritage books, which is about 10,000 titles, counting CDs, and then that doesn't count the PDFs we have. We probably have 4,000 of those. And those are not on the Heritage Books website. They're on a separate Heritage Books PDF website that you can go to. And the pricing there is about 80% of the book price, because that's generally what books cost us to create, that 20, 25, 30%. So it just makes it easier to keep it all just at 80%. So we have those two websites. But we also now carry all of Genealogical Publishing Company and Clearfield. We carry all of Iberian, or another name for it is New Papyrus, all of their books. We carry all of Southern Historical Press. We carry all of Mountain Press. We carry all of Clausen Press. We carry most of New England Historic and Genealogical. And we also sell the silver books on Amazon. We do not sell them in our own website because of discounting issues and those kind of things. And I don't like to sell books at Heritage Books for more than retail. I don't mind doing that on Amazon. In fact, it's cheaper to buy them from Heritage Books than it is to buy them off Amazon if you want them media mail. And if you use the book code, if you use the discount code rather, media, we'll give you media mail, which reduces the shipping price by $5.50, something like that. I think it's $5.50 to bring it down to the media mail, and therefore, but you don't get a catalog. Speaking about catalogs, we fixed it so that all the catalogs are available on Heritage Books as PDF files, and they're actually much nicer than the paper catalogs themselves because they may be more current. And then the Antient Press alphabetical material is out there also for free download. Now, what I will be adding soon and haven't added yet, although I've been answering individual queries, is I'll add a crosswalk for the Antient Press books, because we brought a lot of those back into print and they have our numbering system in them rather than the original Colonial Roots numbering system now, and there's no real way to crosswalk them except on an Excel spreadsheet on my computer, so I've got to fix that. But we currently have 75 of the Antient Press books out of print, and it's just a problem that we're going to have, bringing them back into print one by one. So Heritage Books will probably be around for a long time. It's one of those companies that nobody would want to buy, but everybody would be disappointed if it disappeared. I'm always interested in trying to find books that need to be brought back into print, but I have about 7,000 that still has to happen to here, so I'm really not interested in me doing the legwork to bring something into print. I'm meaning the permissions if necessary, the copy of the book if I don't have it, that kind of stuff. But if you've seen a book at Heritage Books in the past and you don't see it now and you'd like me to bring it back in print, I can work on that. And we try to bring at least 10 books back into print every week. It doesn't work out as well as we would like it, but that's our goal, and we're just not meeting our goal as often as we would like to. So that's Heritage Books in a nutshell. There's a Berwyn Heights, Maryland operation that's corporate, and it's the publications division, and it's a house. And then there is Heritage Books, the warehouse, which is in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and that's where I'm sitting right now. And it's we used to own the building, but we sold it last year, and now we rent it just because I don't like being a landlord. I like being a genealogist. I have more time to be a genealogist if I'm not a landlord. So I don't know what other questions people might have about Heritage Books. We try to be one-stop shopping. We try to be responsive. We try to fix any problem we have as quickly as we can, but first we have to know there's a problem. And sometimes it takes a while to fix the problem just because of the situation we're in, because of how tight our print production schedule is. Like there's a problem with an index or something like that. Some things we can do quickly, some things take a little bit longer, some things we have absolutely no control over whatsoever. That's life. So if you have questions about Heritage Books, I'll be glad to answer them. It's now the 1st of July here. which means I think this video is probably going to be Monday or Tuesday, so it'll be near the 4th. Don't forget that up until the end of the 4th, I guess I'm going to do this on Saturday, so that you're reminded that there is free shipping through July 4th. So today will be the 2nd of July, even though today is the 1st of July. I always get this messed up. Anyway, if you have questions about Heritage Books, let me know. Don't forget that there's free shipping, which means we're going to send it to you media mail through the end of July 4th. There's a code for that. It's called 4th shipping. Also, to remind you, on the second Wednesday of the month, we will try to do a live stream that actually works. We had the live streams work. I don't like the YouTube way of doing a live stream because I would rather do it in Zoom, and I need to figure out why it's not recording properly and all that kind of stuff. It should record properly. It's just not. So we can take it from there. So we'll have a live Zoom at 5 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Is it Eastern Daylight Time? Eastern Daylight Time on the second Wednesday of the month. And that will be true of every second Wednesday. So it'll be live. Bring your questions. I may have an answer. I may not. It may take me time to answer it. But anyway, this is Craig from Just Genealogy, trying to explain what Heritage Books is. It's one-stop shopping for genealogists. We have books from everywhere. If you need a genealogy book, all you have to do is query me, and I can tell you either if I have it, where I think it might be, or where you can find it. I'm like a book finder. I'm also a guy with answers about genealogy, I think. Some of you might agree, some of you might disagree. But no matter what, I'm Craig, and I'm from Just Genealogy, where we're converting people doing genealogy into genealogists day by day. See you tomorrow.